we do is we try to involve them as much as we can. I think, what'd you tell me? You went through 25 pounds of plaster the other night.
Yes.
So we buy butcher paper by the roll because we can try out most of the fingerprint powder. The plaster where they do tire tracks and shoe casts, we just go outside. Yeah, it's like, here's some mud, have at it. But we try to get them involved, make them do stuff. That's probably the next favorite thing that we do with them behind blood spatter, because we'll do 3 or 4 casts if we have 15 or 20, and we'll pull those, and then we'll do known prints, which is real simple: WD-40, some magnetic fingerprint powder, and poster board, and shelving paper, the clear. So we make imprints of all their shoes, and then make them go back and match the shoe back to the cast that left one in the mud. So they get into that. They want to carry their shoe prints home with them and all that. And it's like, good, have at it. Well, there's where we're doing it. And that's busy work for those of you that need busy work, because it takes the plaster about 30 minutes to dry. So engaging them is our approach. Make them do stuff. We go through limited casework with them because we go through several different counties, and you never know whose grandma is the victim of what and whose uncle is the victim of what. So we try to show them some of the real graphic, and about as graphic as it gets is a bullet hole or a stab wound or something, once we figure out who's going to be our weak link in a class. But we try to show them how we incorporate lasers, the fingerprint stuff, and all that into actual casework, so that when they do grow up and decide that they are going to look at dead people and blood, they'll know what, they got to expect. What do you see in that picture, Lynn Garner?
I see a little piece of something. It's like, is that crime scene tape?
On the door facing?
Oh, well, I don't know. I can't. What is this?
It's a kitchen floor.
Baseball bat.
Yeah, there's a baseball bat.
Tell how much time you spend in the kitchen.
And there's
She's talking about the
There and there.
Oh,
ruler tape.
Is that a roller?
It's ruler tape.
yeah, go for the overall big picture. What do you see? You see a floor, right?
I see a floor.
There you
yes.
But this was a house where we kill the subject. Let's see, we beat them with a hammer, we stab them, we tune them up with a baseball bat, and they still won't die. So we have to put a Walmart bag over their head and tie it off and sit on their chest till they quit kicking. So, needless to say, it was a messy kitchen by the time this was all over with. But the killer had cleaned up, so we go in and hit it with luminol, and that's what you're seeing on the right. And if you can see, you can actually see her bare footprints where she was walking around in the blood as she was cleaning it up. So these are the kind of things that the kids just go crazy over. We go to Lowe's, and what do we buy? A piece of linoleum for $10. Yeah, Lowe's loves us because we take anything junk they have. Some $25 a square foot linoleum, they had some weird end piece, and they're like, give us $10, take it with you. So we put our cow blood on it and clean it up, and then let the kids spray it with luminol and see if they can find the handprint or the footprint. And that's, one of the things that we debunk. On TV, they would shine a blue flashlight and you'd get this. No, it don't work that way. Hey, those are copyrighted. He's taking pictures of my blood. But we let them do the simple stuff. We can do a lot of quick and dirty things. Gunpowder, quick and simple test. Check for nitrates with diphenylamine. Gunpowder is composed of nitrocellulose, so we got a nitrate there. And you get a quick blue reaction, it's probably gunpowder. So anything quick and dirty that they can get their head around, that they can do in a classroom, because we know you have limited stuff in your classrooms to work with. So when I buy 6 boxes from Uline the other day, just so we can cart some of this stuff in when we go to these schools. The other thing we got going now is Joe is on our staff, been there for about a year now, going on 2 years now. We snagged him from the University of North Georgia. We call him the talking head because he does the consult work on CNN, HLN, Discovery ID, and something else. We call him the talking head. We do all the work. He'll call and he's like, hey, we got to talk about the South Africa Pistorius. Yeah, he's like, CNN wants, to talk about the gunshots through the door. So Shane goes to Lowe's, gets like a door for like $5. We go to Studio F, as we call it, because it's the tractor shed at my house that I pulled the fertilizer spreader out of, and we put blue tarp down, and we get the report from over there, and we recreate the angles that the shots went through the door. Well, Joe's like, why do you call it Studio F? It's like, because that's where the fertilizer spreader was. But that was in Studio C. That's an old farmhouse there on one of the farms at the house. And we went to Lowe's, got some sheetrock, drywall, screwed it to the wall and ceiling, rounding up an old table from the warehouse. Warehouse also loves us too, because they call and they're like, hey, we got a 3-legged chair. And, y'all want to tear it up the rest of the way, or do you want to shoot it? So, we may do. But the kids are seeing him on TV and stuff like that, and they're like, ooh, you actually can get a real job and be important when you get this degree. Field trips, like I said, we bring them out to the office and put a lot of butcher paper down, let them play, as we call it. You can see the butcher paper on the counters. They can get fingerprint powder in places you never thought you could get it. But that's one of the big things, because they think it's like TV, that you're going to get a fingerprint every time you touch something. And they'll stand there and handle a water bottle or a can or, a potato chip bag and know their fingerprints are on it and can't even get them. So it's like, welcome to the real world. Fall 2014. That's when we first offered CJ 210, Elements of Forensic Science, as the dual enrollment. Like I said, we've done it twice at Sandrock. We went into the 3rd time. We picked up Hokes Bluff this time, and we're in talks, I guess you could say, with a couple other counties during their free time. So if you haven't got a degree from JSU yet, you need to be signing up, because that's where you need to be going. We have to put that in there. Anybody have any questions about any of this part of it? This was the quick and dirty information session. Yes, ma'am.
Our school has a forensics class, but do y'all go out to those classes that already have one, or do you just try to do it on your own?
Which school are you at?
Saks High School.
Saks. I didn't talk to anybody there. Sandrock and Hokes Bluff, went blank. They already had a program, and what we do is we just go in and try to take what they're doing, and it's like, you go to JSU, you go into Intro to Forensic Science, Criminalistics, Crime Scene Processing. A fingerprint in CJ 304 is the same fingerprint in CJ 430 and in CJ 463. So the buzzwords that your program's teaching are not going to change. What we try to do is we try to bring the stuff in that you can't or you don't have access to. So that's why I like the hybrid approach. Let the on-site teacher, kind of handle the day-to-day, and then we come in once or twice a week, however the semesters run, because this time we got a year-long program, whereas at Sandrock it's just half a year.
Does she have to have 18 hours in science or
The way that we do it is, instructor of record, and they just augment what we do.
So she could reach out to Valerie?
She could reach out to Alice Abernathy. Aren't you the coordinator?
That's me, that's.
But
And are you wanting to build a loan program, or are you just?
I'm math, so we have forensics, that's my stuff.
If they're just wanting to do a tour, like do a field day, we can do that. We don't have to run that through the whole core program. But if you're going to build enrollment, that's good.
And Mark, you use Blackboard
yes,
as part of your hybrid, so you might want to explain a little bit more how hybrid works.
and like I said, we're all over the board. As soon as we get through here, we're headed up to help mess with some fingerprints, and then I got to be up in another county after that. So we like dual enrollment as the hybrid because we never know where our day is going to go. I mean, I just wanted to eat supper the other night, and before I got the fork right there, I had to put it down and go out on the call. So with Blackboard, you can dump the PowerPoints, the assignments, whatever, to Blackboard. They can look at it at 10 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night. That's fine. The way I like the hybrid is when I'm there, they're mine. You know, we're going to be doing the cool stuff. We're going to show up with the fingerprint powder, the plaster to do casting, the bottle of blood, and the butcher paper and all that. So, what is it? Cobb County calls it blended. We call it hybrid here. They call it blended, where it's basically 50-50, classroom or classroom and online. How many of your schools are running Blackboard? There's another one out there. It wasn't Blackboard, it was Campus. Yeah, I never messed with that one. I know about Blackboard. I've heard of them. Okay. Wasn't Gadsden State on campus at one time? But yeah, any of you that have any questions about it, and like Shane said, a lot of them, what they want is just a field trip. And we got the space at the fort that, you know, we can turn them loose and keep them off the part that hadn't been cleared of landmines, and everything will be fine. Hey, when we first moved out there, you'd be out there and it'd be like, boom. I was like, well, squirrel stepped on another one. But they were doing the cleanup, and like once or twice a month, they would detonate all the stuff. And when we first went out there, have you never been out to McClellan, went out the back way? He's looking amazed. There's signs out there, and it's like little Timmy and little Susie like flying through the air with the fire blast, and it's like, you know, unexploded ordnance, do not enter this area. It's just asking somebody to go out there. I want to get one of the signs for Alice. What time is it? Do you want to, some of you that are interested, we brought 10 iPads that were graciously bought by Dr. Alicia Simmons' office for use in dual enrollment. Shane can show you one of the quick and dirty things we do to match fingerprints with kids.
Come on, y'all.
She's holding her hand up.
The passcode is 1107. Alex, what are audio here? Where's the audio? If I'm going to show you, so I need to be able to put my iPad into theirs.
Okay, over here.
Are you saying?
I guess since you said how your y'all been coaching this long time or y'all
Oh yeah, but in very game, but he'll be like mid cheers. I mean, like we're trying to get football.
All right, so the program that we're going to use is well, first off, how many of y'all have access to iPads for your classrooms? The program that we use is called Note Shelf, and it's I think it's a $6.99 program, and it's actually a pretty good program. You can do a lot of graphic stuff with it. You can take photographs, place photographs on pages, and write on top of photographs, and then you can print out those. It basically creates a workbook on the iPad, and you can incorporate customized pages into that workbook. So you could, the program that I created, or the sheet that I created, is a latent print comparison page. Note Shelf.
Note Shelf.
Yes, NOTESHELF. Glad I spelled that right. $6.99. It's a great program. I've not found any program on Amazon tablet or Android tablets or anything like that, or the Surface Pros, that can do what this program can.
Let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
Did you buy it for all that I have each, or did you buy it one time?
When we set up CFAP, we had 6 iPads that were donated to us for teaching. I set up 6 Gmail accounts and set up 6 different iTunes accounts. Those 6 iTunes accounts, I later found out that each iTunes account, you can sign up to 5 devices into that same iTunes account. So, probably violating Note Shelf's licensing copies, but all I did was install on these iPads. Each one of these is assigned to one of those 6 iTunes accounts. So you can download anything that you download to that one iTunes account, you can download up to those other 5 devices. So that's what I did. Instead of having to buy an additional 10 copies of software, I did it that way. That might be completely illegal. I don't know. I haven't been told so. They haven't caught me yet. But we do what?
It was a family share.
Sure, that works. Which, I mean, in their license agreement, it says you can install it up to 5 times. So, I mean, I don't see where that would be a problem. But you can create worksheets or any type of custom page and import it into the program. So if you all want to click on Note Shelf, it should be on some of them. It's on the first page. Some of them might have to slide over and go to the second page.
Do you create your worksheet on a Mac or something?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, to create the worksheet, all you have to do is some type of program, Microsoft Word, any program that you can create a worksheet type document. The only caveat is you have to be able to convert that over to a JPEG file. The way that the Note Shelf stuff works, to incorporate those pages, they have to be a JPEG. It has to be a JPEG image. So you can convert it to a PDF file, Microsoft Office, and then once it's converted to a PDF file, then you can use Adobe Acrobat or something like that to convert it to a JPEG. There's also a lot of free programs that will convert from a PDF to a JPEG. So if y'all go ahead and open up Note Shelf, cheat off somebody over here. All right, so open up note shelf. Yeah, so you should, there's, some of them have more because we've let some of the students play with these. You should have like a sample notebook and then the sample PDF, and then there's one that's called latent comparison. Click on the latent comparison. To pull up a page, everybody should have a page. I guess it helps if I do that. All right, does everybody's look like this? All right, go to the little gear looking thing over here in the corner. Tap that. Go down to orientation settings. And then lock in landscape spine up. I should have done this before I passed them out. And then hit the back button, click on the page, click on the little four corner, in the right corner, the little four dots over here. Click on it, it will take you back out. Now open the notebook back up, it'll be locked in that. All right, so once we're in that view, at this point you can use this template basically. Each page is going to have, each page in the notebook, every time you add a new page to it, it will be the same template. The way that you get the picture of the fingerprint into the program is at the top of the page, there will be something that looks like the side of the page, something that looks like a landscape mountain setting. Tap there. It's going to ask you if you want to take a photo or go to the photo album. Go to the photo album. Once you're in the photo album, click on camera roll. A couple of these iPads, there's going to be 200 or 300 photos on there because we actually let one of the, I think it was San Roque High School when we went out in the field, they actually use these to create their crime scene notebook. You can choose one of the fingerprints that's in the camera roll. When you bring it in, it will probably be a large image. Use your fingers to shrink it or grab one of the corners and shrink it and make it fit into the box. Do it. And what's crazy is your students probably are going to be way more familiar with how to use these iPads than you are, and they'll probably be outrunning you when you are trying to teach them how to do this. So the print that is more narrow than wide and has the ruler on the right side, that is going to be the latent print. That's going to be a print that I put on a piece of paper and dusted with fingerprint powder. The other print is going to be what we call an exemplar or a rolled print. So that's going to be what, if you go to the police department and get fingerprinted, they're actually going to roll your print out. So that was done with ink. So you can take that second image and add it to the other box.
It's working. And you've already had your photo.
So nice.
Looks real close, so that's just right here. This one's in the middle, but look at the middle. I'm just saying right there, you see the circle I'm talking about right there? It's almost identical. That's right. So maybe we got caught.
We're the top. So you got to be 50 officers.
All right, once you get the two images loaded in there, now you can actually do your comparison. The easiest way to do the comparison is to, at the top of the page, or the side of the page, there's a magnifying glass. There's the symbol for magnifying glass. Tap the magnifying glass. That should pop you up a little box that will magnify whatever it is over the top of. Everybody on the same page so far? Or we having?
How do you move it north?
So if you click on the top part above the black line, if you click on that box, you can move it around to any part of the picture that you need to.
Appreciate it for that.
Because they can't run that one.
Late touchdown was just trying to get close to the cover. How's that?
I was got home from church and I was changing clothes Sunday morning. And Mark May,
Yeah, so in a second, go ahead and do the.
only had 6 runs of 0 and 1 yard. How impressive they were. How many tackles he had to break to get that. Excuse me? That was my heart. He said that. How many tackles? Okay, but he runs in that wide. Crunchy grabs.
Like the wall, just like it was a poster.
Then hit the ground.
He didn't say nothing about them 284 something. He kept hitting him like they were freaking yellow jackets. Like, come on, stand.
Hey, one of those ladies, they can hold like, they can hold like,
Gino Smith did one time, or Gino Mateus Smith. He did one time, I thought he broke his leg. And then Hunter's come on, hit him another time, I thought he broke his leg.
I can see what Hokes is at this point.
Yeah, both of them were real big.
Okay, so
Yep.
the other gentleman,
Did you get the second? Go
he
ahead.
could carry the ball.
How many times he broke?
Yeah.
All right, so does everybody have, so the two pictures placed?
He'll take it one step, yeah.
Yeah, the cover causes a problem. So click on one of the black dots, hold for a second.
Mark May was talking about Sunday morning. Leader Fournette had 6 rushes for 0 or 1 yard. How impressive they were. Because how many tackles he broke to get 0 or 1 yard.
The defense style. Which I watched Kinky Boy. And they're good. It's hard to compromise. It's hard to compare.
All right, everybody have 2 images placed?
Kind of stupid.
All right, once you have the 2 images placed, then you can use the looking glass, the magnifying glass, to look at all the different details of the fingerprint. And how many of y'all are actually have looked at fingerprints before, or forensics teachers or anything like that? When you're looking at fingerprints, you're looking for what we call minutia, which are places where the ridges end, places where there are dots in the ridges, places where the ridges split apart. We call that a bifurcation. So those are the details that we're looking for. When you find those details in the known print and the latent print, you want to use your finger to circle, put a small outline around that point. Once you do that, then you can look at the two basic patterns of all the areas that you circled and see if you have a fingerprint that matches to the known or not.
Yeah. Old Leroy saying they went undefeated this year.
Yeah, so he posted it on Facebook.
He said from gigantic more than it already was.
He sang pretty humble about it.
Nah, he was. You know, it's like give old Leroy a hard time.
Yeah, he sang to be. I mean, I think it's the first time they went undefeated, right?
My dad will say every time that Leroy was getting ready to play Ace and Leroy Clark's the coach. Yes, sir. You ain't gonna let that idiot give our kids. You know that guy was crazy when we were all there.
He really was.
Had a big old running back that we bounced off of him like.
Yeah, big running back.
With a little gnats hit me.
Yeah, yeah. I have to mark it. Put them down together. What is it?
All right, so can you all see the red dots that I put up there, or the red circles that I put up there? At the top of the core of that fingerprint, which this is my finger right here, the bird finger. So at the top of the core, which is the central part of that fingerprint, is what we call a lake. Do you all see the lake? Where it's basically almost a circle made out of the ridges. We call that a lake. So that is one minutia that I've circled and identified there. At the bottom of that core, you can see where the ridge comes down and basically divides into two, or it's one ridge that's coming up and it divides into two. And then just below that, you have another ridge that comes down and makes a loop around another ridge and comes back up. Does everybody see those features? Key. Those are very unique to my finger. Not many other people, nobody else in the world should have those same features. So we can identify those. That's in the known print. Over here in the latent print, we found those same key components. So therefore, if you have the same features in the latent print as you do the known print, then you can say that it's a match. And so you can let your students, when you're doing your fingerprint section, they can dust their own fingerprints, they can roll their own fingerprints out, they can take the picture with the iPad, incorporate the picture into this program, and then do the matching. And then when they're done, you can actually take this, print it out, save it as a PDF, and print it out on a printer, and they can turn that in, and that's their whole assignment. So they've actually done the development, they've done the rolling that they would do at the crime lab, and they've done the placement on the iPad and the matching, and then they can turn it in. So, anybody have any questions on that? Clear as mud? Complicated? Your students would actually be able to do it a whole lot easier than what I've explained it and probably what you can explain it, because they would be so used to it. When we first introduced this into the high schools and let them start doing it, 2 or 3 of the students already had it done before I even told them what I needed them to do. So they'd already played with the no-shelf program, and they had already done that. So it's pretty simple. It's something that they can be hands-on with. If they have access to iPads, they can use their own iPads. It's not very hard to set these up on these 10 iPads here. I created the form and emailed it to the iPad addresses. You can save that to the camera roll, incorporate it in through the note shelf program, and then your students would be able to take the fingerprints, photographs themselves with the iPads, because the iPads already have the cameras integrated into them. Or if you want them to have a specific assignment, you can email them the photographs or email the iPads the photographs of the fingerprints, and they can incorporate them in that way, and you will have something that you can grade that you know which minutiae are there. Any questions, comments, complaints? All right. No, you don't get to take the iPads home. I need them back.
My name is Alice Abernathy, and I am the Core Scholars Dual Enrollment Coordinator. And we have two specialists, two ladies that work with us. Vicki Simpson. Vicki, will you stand up in the back? Vicki's brand new. She's been here a week. And so she's learning as much as she can. And Natalie has been here since July. This is Natalie Holt. They are both former teachers. They've worked in the classroom. Vicki's worked as a counselor. And so that's one of the great things about what we do with dual enrollment. We know what high schools, what administrators need in the school setting in terms of aligning their curriculum with college, and we're there to better help match up their needs with what JSU can offer. And one of the things that we do, we do the dual enrollment with the Criminal Justice 210, which Dr. Rick Davis, the head of the Criminal Justice Department, wrote this curriculum for the program. Mark has gone out and taught it at Sandrock last year, both semesters. He's at Hokes Bluff this semester, and then we'll be back at Sandrock in the spring and possibly another place or two. And that is dual enrollment credit. And Mark, how does that transfer over as credit for a student that's coming up here from Sandrock and is going into criminal justice? So it will count as elective. Students do pay tuition for the class. We have a scholarship opportunity available right now, the Core Scholar Scholarship. This is through our grant, the grant that was awarded to JSU that helps fund with the treatment teachers. We have this grant for another school year, so we'll finish out this school year, and then the next school year, 2016-17, will be the last time that we'll be able to offer the scholarships. We have 500 scholarships to offer. We have broken them up into 250 in the fall, 250 in the spring to better serve our student population. The priority for the scholarships does go to those students who are free and reduced lunch. And I will tell you, we have seen the numbers increase from last year to this year as far as dual enrollment students who are free and reduced lunch. They are the ones that oftentimes they don't think about taking dual enrollment. Perhaps they're not approached about dual enrollment because of the cost that's involved. So it is really great to see those students getting involved in dual enrollment, finding out what college is all about, and hopefully we'll see them up here at JSU, but at least perhaps they'll go on to college and university because they've seen that they can make it a reality. And then Natalie is going to share with you a little bit about our dual enrollment program.
First, I have to give props out to the gentleman that just spoke with all of us. Not only were they entertaining and informative, but they were able to do like many of us as teachers in the classroom when things do not swing just the way you want them to technologically, they just kept going. And you all know how hard that is to do when you've got a mindset and a plan and you know exactly how you want it to go. They didn't allow that to kind of slow them down. They just kept on keeping on, if you will. The powers that be, Alice, may have lost their minds when they decided to let me speak in front of all of you today, because this is not old hat for me, even though I did teach, but to be amongst so many revered well-regarded, intelligent peers, it's a little nerve-wracking to get up here and be like, okay, here's my little spiel, okay? Hopefully my technology will work. If not, I will continue to roll with it, just as those fine gentlemen did ahead of us. But I cannot be more excited. What I'm seeing through all of the presentations today just solidify and put in concrete what CORE is trying to do, making these students college and career ready. You're seeing how these college credits and these college classes are starting to do that funneling process where it's taking these students through school towards a career that they are going to be able to find out way ahead of the curve if it's right for them or not. So they're not going to be wasting time. I will get into my video in just a moment. The other thing I'm excited about that I just have to share before my ADHD brain makes me forget. When we were at the NACEP conference just a few weeks ago in Colorado, one of the best comments I have ever heard about concurrent enrollment, dual enrollment, was used as a selling point. And I thought, you know what? It's not original. I didn't come up with this. I will give credit where credit is due. If you guys ask me, I'll pull out the person that originated this concept. I don't know it right off the top of my head, but they were marketing concurrent enrollment / dual enrollment as basically time currency. You know, you hear all about when you're out of the schools talking about AP versus concurrent enrollment or dual enrollment. Well, with concurrent enrollment, dual enrollment, they have to pay for these classes. Yes, that is a concern that comes into play, but they're paying half of what an incoming freshman would pay, and they are getting that back in time. Students are walking out of high school with 12 college credits or more under their belt. And if they're lucky enough to maybe have been socking some money away, maybe they can study abroad for a year, whereas they would have been forced to try to get those basics out of the way. So that idea of time being saved, I love that. And I just wanted to make sure that I share that with all of you. If you are sitting on the fence regarding bringing a program like this into your institution, that it's time that is going to be the payback on top of a career choice and being successful. So I threw together, for those of you that know me, you know how I love iMovie and the trailers because they're so easy. And I refer to my homestead as Holtywood. And so my daughters in Holtywood are constantly making their own iMovies. So it's just kind of like something we do. Maybe we need to get a different hobby, I don't know. But I threw this together just to kind of show you what gets me fired up about our CORE Scholars Program. Let's see if I can get it to play. So far, so good. Oh, it's not behind you now. It's not behind me. It might be because we were still connected to mirror the iPad. I don't know if that has anything to do with that. But it's on the TV over here if you guys would like to get up and walk over here, by all means. Or I would be happy to share this with you in an email as well if you would like. Essentially, it's just going to show you some of the various schools that are involved in our program, some of the various activities that are going on in our program. And of course, it gets to highlight and showcase some of our superstars, what we like to think of as superstars. So, oh, look at this. Okay. And now you guys tell me, is there anything? See, this is why technology is a great thing, but a scary thing. So,
and let me just say, while Natalie was talking about time currency, also some of the things to remember. How many of you switched majors in college? Anyone? I certainly did. I tagged on another semester because I decided to be a teacher. So I had to tag on another semester, and I've had 2 semesters where I've had 18 hours both times, and that was very difficult. Most kids are going to change majors. If they can rack up some of those core credits as undergraduates, they don't have to take full load maybe their first year or their second year. It gives them a little bit more time to become acclimated to make sure that what they're doing is what they want to do. Also, how many of you hear from students, well, I'm gonna get a scholarship, I don't need to pay for anything right now? They've got to keep the scholarship though. And a lot of kids, I was a very good student in high school. I went out to Alabama my first semester and it was not a pleasant Christmas at my house because I had to learn, I had to study. I had to learn, oh, you're supposed to go to class. There are a lot of things that they've got to get used to. So dual enrollment can again help give them that little cushion. Things like, oh, I've got to turn my assignment in on time. They're not going to accept my assignment for full credit or credit off the next time I have class. Those are some wake-up calls. Or with math, we hear, you mean my homework doesn't count for points? It's just test, 4 tests? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So some of these things, getting them used to what college is like so that they can be more successful. You ready to go? All right. Is there sound?
It's supposed to be, but who knows? The pictures are what's most important. So. It's a little less chill. Without the backing track, maybe not as chill bump causing as I wanted it to be, but I do want to just show you, like I said, with that question, are you on fire yet? That's how I feel every single time I go out to the schools, every single time I leave the schools, every single time I bump into a student at Walmart and they're telling me, hey, guess what? You know, I told you I was really nervous about taking that class. Well, I'm doing pretty well. Oh, I'm so glad. You know, maybe they're not within my realm of responsibility territory-wise, but I do know that maybe from being out in the schools with my educational technology assistant position that I had last year. So it's wonderful to be able to hear how excited everybody is about this concept of getting ahead and doing, as Alice said, those housekeeping things, learning about becoming an actual college student. I have a couple of interviews. I'm almost scared to try to pull those up because I've just not had good luck with the technology. But once we were told that we had to maybe come up with a little bit of something, after my knees quit knocking together, we started discussing ideas. Who should we interview? Who should we speak with? And we knew immediately that we wanted to try to present different perspectives to all of you. We wanted to maybe give you the perspective of what we call a local celebrity. We wanted to give you the perspective of an alumna. We wanted to give you the perspective of an instructor, a student, and even a parent. We came up with that just through 3 small interviews, thankfully, because one of our instructors is a parent of a dual enrollment, and she's speaking with students. So that knocked out 3 all in one. I was also fortunate enough for the very first time to be able to go into the field house and interview Coach Gross. So I felt real swanky that day. And I also came out feeling kind of small, which is a good thing as a female. You know, after being around all those big guys down there, I was like, ooh, maybe I'm not so big. So that was great. I felt like I needed to maybe ask for his autograph, but I didn't because I didn't want to embarrass myself any further than I already had. And then we were also able to get the best. I'll save the best for last. I'm not even going to mention. You'll see for yourself. But again, let's pray. And y'all already turned the TV back around. Let's see. No, you're fine. You're fine. Essentially, this very first interview that I would like to share with you, and I hope the sound works. Let me just do this. This is a couple of students from one of our local schools, and they are speaking with one of the instructors that I was telling you about. Let's see. I think I'm just gonna skip ahead to 8 seconds if I can. It's probably asking too much. But they've been broached with the question of, I think we're fighting each other, let's see. You know, why do they decide to participate in a dual enrollment program? We'll wait until maybe the sound kicks in. They were asked why they found it worthwhile, how it compared to AP classes.
So then when I go, I'll be ahead of all the other people who haven't been able to have the college credit in high school. And I'll get out and I'll be able to obtain a job faster.
So, one of the things that I thought about often, just, from the standpoint of a parent who's had several students who take dual enrollment and do both, is, they chose the dual enrollment versus an advanced placement because they still wanted to enjoy their high school experience. And they felt the best way to do that without being too overwhelmed was to dual enroll. What is your comment?
I agree with that. I've taken an AP class and I've also taken a dual enrollment class. I take 3 dual enrollment classes. And I like them better just because I get the college credit and I don't have to worry about a huge test at the end over the span of a whole year. So while I'm taking the class in dual enrollment, I'm getting the credit as long as I make the grades to keep the credit. But with the AP, I didn't like the fact that I would take the big test at the end and may or may not get the credit after all the hard work.
Like she said also, I'm also taking an AP class this year and a dual enrollment class this year. And I enjoy the fact that even though I'm taking both, for one, I get the guaranteed college credit, and for the AP class, I may or may not get full college credit or partial. You have to make a certain score in the AP exam, unlike dual enrollment, where you get guaranteed.
Well, I know the rigor in an AP course is very strict.
I'm guaranteed. We know it's not a guarantee that you get the college credit. You do have to put in the work. You do have to get the grade. But what he's meaning by that is any of the students we have out there, and we all know because this is our cup of tea, this is what we do every day, that there are highly intelligent students that have test anxiety. So they don't test well. And so by him saying you're guaranteed, what he means is it's not dependent upon one test. And we're not here to try to push AP down and say dual enrollment's the best. What we're trying to do is we're trying to show throughout our daily activities and interactions in the schools is that there's room for all of it. And it should be the student that gets to decide what is going to suit their learning style best, what is going to suit their schedule best. Because a lot of these kids that are doing dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, advanced placement, they're highly motivated, very involved students. They're involved with the SGA, they're part of the theater troupe, maybe they're cheerleaders or they're football players or they're doing whatever. And so we need to make sure that we provide them with as many opportunities as possible in order to try to achieve those goals that they have set for themselves, okay? All right, now, let me go ahead and pull up quickly. And it keeps going to no signal. Let's see. And I will be happy, any of you that would like to see these in entirety and be able to listen to them, I will be happy to email those to you. So feel free to get a business card from me on the way out and hit me up. I'll send that over to you. I've already been speaking a lot with some of the representatives in the schools that I handle. So I'm going to have a very, very busy schedule next week, but I'm loving every second of the interaction. We've been dealing with some schools also that are interested in having a dual enrollment program after today. And that's what it's all about, is networking, getting the word out and being able to make new contacts with people. So let's see if we can pull up good old Coach Gross here. Who I could tell gives quite a few interviews on a daily basis because he just knocked it out of the park.
And it's really neat to hear Coach Gross's perspective because he has football players who did dual enrollment and he has football players who've never done dual enrollment.
I'm going to let it buffer a little bit because I know that'll be there if we get ahead of it. all I would like to ask you today is if you have any memory or recollection of what was difficult for you when you made that transition from high school student to college student.
I think it's a process of, just independence, just being able to be on your own and, enroll in college and sign up for your classes. And then, time management. Time management is a lot different, when you go from a high school student to a college student, because you're on your own and you're responsible for yourself. So I think the time management issue is a big thing, and that's a sign of maturity. So I think this a dual enrollment program, I wish I had had it around back when I won't give away my age or anything, but when I was coming out of high school, I think it would have helped me tremendously to have been involved in something like that. And coaching high school football for 25 years, I've seen several high school students that's been in a dual enrollment program, and it's benefited them. I've seen it help their maturity and prepare them for their readiness for college and be able to handle being a freshman in college. Because I tell students this all the time and players this all the time. There's a reason why there's a 50% dropout rate with freshman students, whether they be an athlete or just a student across the country. So it's a reason for that, and I think time management and maturity is a big part of that.
Thank you so much for your time, Coach Gross.
Thanks a lot.
I felt like such a dweeb.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Because I knew how busy he was. Like I said, I'm catching him like, oh, he's in a team meeting. He'll be in here in just a moment. I'm like, oh gosh, So anyway, the last little interview that I want to share with you is coming from some Jacksonville State University alumni. They went to this institution. They graduated from here, and they were going to share with you the most difficult part for them regarding the transition to college student. Let me see if I can find the tag. I think it's this one. All right. So those of you that know Alice Abernathy know that joker on, well, it'd be your left, is her husband. So it was very easy to get with him and get an interview. But what I thought was just even better was how serious he took the proposition. And that tells you what kind of graduates we're putting out there. Because he was like, no, it has to be high resolution. I want it to look good. So that made me glad. And it is serious. See, I'm starting to wonder if I have like a metal plate in my head that I've never been told about. Because technology here lately is not working well.
And the gentleman with him is Gerhard Methangani, who is also a graduate from Jacksonville State. And I taught his sister in middle school many years ago.
I remember my first day at Jacksonville State University, go in that first class, sit down, I am ready to learn. And then through the doors, they just keep walking in. Beautiful girl after beautiful girl. And then one of them sits right beside me.
Nice.
The most beautiful girl in the whole class, in the whole university, in the whole world. I had no idea what that class was today. I remember her, and that's the way it went for that first semester, at least at college. I'm looking at the girls. I'm not looking at the textbooks or the professors. And whew, I had a learning curve after that to get that GPA back up.
I bet you did. One of the things I remember is, I think it was biology class, and I should remember this, but the professor said, look to the person at your left, look to the person at your right. Only one of you is leaving out of here with a degree. So I had to make sure you're going to be one of those people that leaves out of there with a degree. But it's one of those things that they scare you with all that at the beginning, just to make sure you're focused and you're ready to go at Jacksonville State.
Yeah, the first year is the hardest, and if you can get yourself prepared for that first year, you'll do great.
Absolutely.
Keep it going. Hold on.
Yep, we are done. Boom.
So, all humor aside, the viewpoints that we presented to you, and we could have gone for hours, and I know that you would have been throwing the gummy bears at me at that point if we would have been going on that long. But we wanted to present, like I said, these different perspectives to you, jokes aside, humor aside, to show you that all different walks of life, all different types of people come up with almost the same answers when you're asked, what do you remember that was difficult about starting college when you were young? And it's, oh, I had to learn how to manage my time. I had to learn how to make sure I stayed on deadlines. I had to quit paying attention to the pretty girls and actually study. And that's what Core Scholars, our Core Scholars program is doing for these local students, is we're giving them that opportunity to be a college student ahead of time. They have all of the gifts and the fun stuff that goes along with being a JSU student. They can use Stevenson Hall, they get their IDs, go to the sporting events, but they're learning how to be a college student so that when they actually come in as an undergrad, they're going to be a peer leader. They're going to be taking those students around them that have never had that opportunity and showing them how things are done. And that makes me very excited to be part of JSU. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to skip our break so we can move on to the schedule. We're going to introduce Alan Malden, who is actually a teacher at Piedmont City Schools at Piedmont Middle, I believe, and Jeffrey Nichols, who's our JSU film minor teacher. And they're going to be presenting on building skills and pathways for high school to college and career readiness. And this is going to focus on our film collaboration and Alan's history class.
All right, hey everybody, good afternoon. Hope you enjoyed the lunch I did. Today, Jeffrey and I are going to explain to you what our collaboration was. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what film class is. Film class is we watch films, we critique films, and we write about it in blog, and that's how we draw our technology into it. Along the way, and how this got started is that back in the summer, I was sitting with Evelyn and Dawn, and they were like, "What are you doing this year?" And I said, "Well, we're going to continue to film class, and we're going to blog like we normally do." And Dawn says, "I know somebody that can come and speak to your class." And that was really how this got started. And we set up a date, and then Jeffrey came to the class, and at that point in time, Jeffrey did something that I just totally didn't expect and was blown away by. And so now I'm going to kick it over to Jeffrey, and Jeffrey's going to tell you exactly what we did in the class, because it was nothing short of amazing. Jeffrey.
Well, we're in the approach, going through the doors, there was always an energy immediately. And what we did and what I did, and, we talked about it, and it was to present something to the students that they could latch hold to and also be very enthusiastic about the approach. So filmmaking is a huge collaborative. It involves many different levels of communication, critical thinking, problem solving, working out, mathematical skills, science, history. I mean, it's just that type of dynamics. And let's face it, our students are very much drawn to technology these days. If it's not here, there, reading, hearing it, it's all, encompassed in filmmaking. And Alan and I, we just came together and it just became this very dynamic approach. And so the idea was to give it a task, assign job performance, but at the same time, create that immediate camaraderie. And those students did that. I saw that in Alan's student. I'm like, they get it, And so that enthusiasm, that energy, came together and produced a project. So we had a director, camera person, audio person, 2 actors. We had a script supervisor, an assistant AD, which, that's the person that manages the floor and everything that we do in filmmaking. And so these levels of commitment that day, that moment, will transfer into jobs that are, waiting and viable and growing right now in Atlanta, Georgia, if not in Mississippi and all the other states, and in Hollywood. And so that's where I come from. So we want to just show you a little bit about what happened, and then we're going to expand upon it, okay?
I hope it's the right one.
You might want to do that with me? All right, anyone ever been to a movie? Ever seen a movie at a movie theater? Okay, you're in it today. So I'm going to need a director. I'm going to need an audio person. I'm going to need a camera person. Also, I'll need someone to do the clapboard, like take 1, take 2. And I'll also need 2 actors, maybe 4. So what I like to do now is get you on board with my script.
connect to the camera. Here's my tripod that's going to connect.
That's it.
Well, what they got out of it was exactly what Jeffrey said, which was they took ownership of it from the get-go and did a really good job of taking direction from him and producing something that day, which was really important to him, because ever since then, it's been, how did they make this scene? How did they do this? And I'm having to explain this to him, which really enhanced our class, because now we have a lot more discussion about the techniques and things involved in filmmaking. And then the other thing is that Jeffrey and I are planning on doing this again, except we're going to do it with a history class. And in the history class, what our game plan is to do a documentary, okay? And we're going to have a Winston Churchill, and we're going to have an FDR, and we're going to have some home front people, and this is all going to be about World War II. And I've got 42 students over 2 classes, and everybody's going to have a job, including all the ones that Jeffrey said. So we'll have everything from mixing board to somebody shooting it. And we're going to do this in December, and we're going to report back to you guys in March about how it shows or how it turns out. And we'll actually show you some of the film then too. But I think the kids were really engaged, and it helped enhance our class by having a guest speaker like Jeffrey come in. It was a lot of fun, and they enjoyed it tremendously. Jared?
And they can latch hold to that immediately, whether it be, science, history, social studies. I mean, whatever you teach, film is just that broad. And so we would love, myself, all of us, come to your class and, engage and catapult these students into that new age of learning. You can always know when a student is getting it and has got it, because they'll say words like this: hey, this was the best day ever. And they said that, so that's kind of like that in your face comment. Now, Alan is going to comment about the post part of that, but the outcomes are super important. The collaboration, there's a formula that comes together between students that needs to happen. That's in the real world. The pathway of dual enrollment, that's where we're going, and that's what we need. These are the students that are going to say, hey, I got something that's viable, I'm engaged, let's do it again. That wow, a moment in that best day ever, I think that's the kind of the mantra. That's what we want to have for all our educators. And, I would love to come and be a part of that. We know how to get in touch with one another, but Alan and I, we're just on the verge of, doing some great dynamic things, and I'm very excited about it. And just one other thing, just so you know that, to learn beyond enthusiasm, I think that's hitting a mark that we haven't even tapped into in today's experiences. What does that really look like? I have students in front of me every day, and they're older, but still they need guidance. But at the same time, as an educator, there's a, let's say, that gray area. I do try to hold my students to a high proficiency professional level. There's an attitude that goes along with it. That's professionalism, but there's also a lot of respect. And some things are being missed, but that won't work in my business. 90% attitude, 10% talent. The first thing they're going to do is judge you up, your work ethic. So, that goes as far back to my kids and students and even your students. So this is what we're doing with filmmaking here at Jacksonville State University. It's very broad. We started the course in 2011. There's just a little, history there. We've had over 290 students go through that course. Also, we have students that worked on Divergent, Insurgent, Nicolas Cage movies. They're working in Hollywood now. So they could take away a skill set, also involving math, history, all that, wardrobe, and, get a job. So that's what's happened. So it's almost like there's vapor and then there's talk. So I tell my students, I'm not about vapor. I'm from Hollywood, California, raised and born here, but I came back after 30 years And now we're, teaching this wonderful skill to students. But it does not just go beyond, going to filmmaking. It broadens itself with everything that you're doing as educators. So I get it, Alan, he gets it, and, we're just thrilled about it. Any questions? Yeah.
Time for questions.
What I like about it is that you're getting off of the doctor, lawyer, nurse, fireman careers with this, because there's so much in this area that kids don't really get a chance to think about unless you introduce them to it. They don't think about who made the movie, how the movie was made, the sound people, the advertising, unless you introduce them. So this, I think it's great.
And that was one of the points Jeffrey made in class when he did the presentation before we actually started doing stuff is that he was like, guys, you can do this and have a job doing this a lot quicker by, getting into this aspect of it, the technical aspect of it, which he was really good explaining to him the kinds of jobs and things that you can do with it. Jeffrey, what?
Think about it. Hollywood West. We need to change that, and we have changed. It's Hollywood South. We know that the dynamics of money making has, that's what it really comes down to with producers, but at the same time, they need an army to get it done. I always say that the filmmaking is like the circus and the military got together and had a baby. They move into town, they set up tent, and it's just a plethora of people. It's, but it's ran on military time. And again, so students can take away, they can say, okay, how does this vision become, viable to me? How can I apply it to me? I really love math. Well, great, because some of your best focus pullers have to measure that distance between the focal point of the character and the plane on the camera, and also, begin to use the circumference and all the mathematical things that go into maybe having to focus. Just that bit of a focus, if it goes soft, you and the audience are going to know it. Guess who else is going to notice it? The director. So if that person is very keen on measurements, very keen on just detail, then he could be a focus puller. He doesn't have to go and be in front of the camera. He just needs to be able to focus the camera. And believe it or not, if it's out of focus, then they got to do the shot over and over again. So then, hey, I'm an historian. I love history. Great. You can't do it without doing, having a period piece and things don't match. It'll be out of place. Well, I'm a lawyer. I don't care anything about filmmaking. Well, believe it or not, no contract gets signed without saying a lawyer. So I can go on and on beyond it, and I'll say, okay, I cook food. I'm in culinary arts. Great. You got to feed people to work. Well, I like to drive trucks. Guess what moves a company of people? And so there's no excuse not to be involved in the business. Now, back to the vapor. No, they have jobs. They have a demand. There's commercials running on TV right now in Georgia. And I even have a brochure from the Wall Street Journal. Demand for film crews, shortage. And one unit production manager quote, which I would have to question her about it, and ask her, hey, you said that even if a student knows what a piece of gear does, I'll hire them. I mean, she said that. I would say, well, I would not. You need to know what it does, but you need to know how to operate it. So that's what we're doing here at Jacksonville State University. Dual enrollment can provide all that. I'm here to teach it, and we also have a credential program coming up in 2016. So not only will you be able to participate, students will, everyone at every level. So it becomes dual enrollment, and it becomes mom and dads and cousins and nephews all kind of coming in under the same umbrella here at Jacksonville State University. I think we have a very unique, dynamic program. And again, the numbers do speak, and the success record is still, So, but I always tell students this, I leave them with this. They say, oh, you're great, Mr. J, I did this. I said, well, no. I said, no, you're greater. You wanted it. I just have it to give. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. I know Steven Spielberg doesn't know me. I know his mom. So, we have to go in with a broader spectrum of how to, market yourself. It is a business called show business. And it's business all around. Even this is a business. So we would love, again, to come and be a part of what you have to enhance it. Again, it's not just filmmaking, it's dual enrollment, but hey, with a twist. How about that? I think so. Thank you.
And we're going, like I said, we're going to take this a step further, coming up in December, and he's going to come to my dual enrollment class and actually film the 2 classes over that, and we'll have everybody will have a job to do. I'll have script writers, I'll have researchers, we're gonna have technical people, I have actors, I have I got one kid that wants to be in front of the camera so bad they can't stand. I actually got 3 or 4. And this could be interesting, but it'll be fun. I got some naturals that are going to be Rosie the Riveter. I got some naturals that are. I got to find me a Churchill because I don't have any short fat kids, but that'll be okay. Any questions about anything before we go? Because I have to leave here in just a minute and go because I have a young man that played baseball for me when he was in junior high school is going to be signing to play at Jacksonville State this afternoon, and I'm going to have to cut short and going up to Piedmont so I can be there for this event. So anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, good. We've enjoyed talking to you about it, and feel free to contact Jeffrey or me anytime. We'll tell you more about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Well, today's been really exciting. I think the agenda's been so exciting. We've got to hear about how we can connect education to industry to make our students more career ready. And we've talked about dual enrollment, which is part of the core model because it is part of college readiness. And I just wanted to share with you, we talked a lot about dual enrollment this afternoon. My office is also responsible for institutional research at JSU, and we did a study of students who had at least one dual enrollment course before they became first-time freshmen at JSU. And guess what? The retention rate for those students was up to 20 points higher than it was for all first-time freshmen. We think that is about college readiness. And we think dual enrollment is having that kind of impact, particularly on students who are first-generation students who really don't know what it is to take a class at a university. And if they can participate in a college course and be successful in it, think about how they feel about their chances of being successful when they come to our campus as a JSU student. It's been an amazing opportunity for us to collaborate together, K through 12 and higher ed. It's an amazing opportunity for our students and for their families to understand more about how college works. And it's just been very successful. And you can see the wonderful faculty you've been able to see today who made this happen. And many of you qualified to be adjunct professors, and so therefore you can teach dual enrollment courses as well. So what a wonderful opportunity to help bridge K through 12 and higher ed so that we can have more graduates in the state of Alabama and the effect that has on our economy and everything about our state. You know what that's about. That's why you're educators. So I'm so grateful to everyone who participated in today's activities and presentations, and thank you so much. And I hope that this will encourage us to continue to move forward because we have been growing the dual enrollment program. I don't know if you've seen it in the paper, but in general, enrollment at JSU has been down, but guess where enrollment has been higher? Dual enrollment. And that's really important to all of us. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn it over to Lynn and she can tell you about where we're off to next.
Okay. Well, to wrap up our exciting day, and I'm really bad with directions, so I'm going to read. There's direction sheets by the elevator. You can either put in your GPS, and your GPS will pick this up on your phone, the 1 O'Connell Avenue, Jacksonville, and that's Longleaf Studios. And that's part of our campus, and we've arranged for our group to take a tour of Longleaf Studios. And if you have a few minutes, if you can stay and go to that tour, you're going to really enjoy it. I've been over there once, and it's amazing. It's amazing what goes on over that studio. So you go to Mountain Street, and everyone knows where Mountain Street is because that's where Struts is at. And you take a left at the first stop sign on Forney, and then you take a right at the next stop sign on the Francis. And the studio is going to be on your left. It's on Alexandria Road. But we've got the instructions, and I suggest putting it in your GPS. And they're expecting us, so I'm heading over there as soon as I can. Okay. And thank you to all of our presenters today. Across the hall, where you register.